Hi, I'm Kristie Day with Stitch in Heaven. We are back with the Cathedral Grab and Go Fuse and Sew. Today I'm going to show you how I did the curvy border. If you would like on this project, you can leave them square, but the curvy just kind of adds some interest. So several people have asked me how I did it, so I'm going to show you today. We have the quilt quilted. We quilted it somewhat densely. We did not sew around our fusible pieces. We just quilted right over them, and they're good and secure. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to just lay it on a flat surface. There's several ways to do this. I'm old school, so I use freezer paper. Freezer paper can be purchased at your local well-stocked grocery store. So I've been quilting a long time, and I've used freezer paper for lots of odds and ends in the craft industry. We use it a lot for applique and different elements, but I use it for my curvy borders. So I'm going to show you how I do it. Freezer paper is nice. You can just get it at your local well-stocked grocery store. It's easy to use, and this roll will last you a long time. So basically, what I do is I just pull off a sheet as long as my border and just cut it. And what I've done here, I've already got a piece kind of cut. I cut it to the size of my border. So let me kind of show you what that looks like. It's over here. Okay. So basically, I've cut it to the exact size of my border. And if you'll notice, there's a shiny side and there is a paper side. Shiny side down. And the beauty of freezer paper is when you iron it, it stays in place. A lot of times too, I've done garment patterns on this when I was in design school, which made it super easy. You just kind of design on the outside and then you can iron it straight to your fabric and cut. If you need a larger piece, masking tape on this actually to piece pieces together works really well. Basically, you just kind of put a warm iron and it sticks right to your fabric like magic. So what I'm going to do next is I try to find out where the center of my border is. The nice thing about this project is actually you have a center of the design, and you can kind of see the center of the design is here. And so I'm just going to mark the center. I'm actually going to use a heat erase pen. We have several of them that we sell at the shop. The nice thing is if you make a mess, all you do is run the iron over it and it disappears. So I'm going to take my ruler and just mark the center of that border. Okay. And then next, I'm going to decide how I want my curve. And this is totally up to you. I freehand it. If you need to get a bowl out of the cabinet and actually make some circles or half circles, you're welcome to. But let me just kind of show you how I freehand it. So I'm only going to be working with half of the border because when I finish the curve, I want them to be symmetrical. I don't draw symmetrical. So basically what I do is I'm going to work with half of it. Then I'm going to take it and fold it and cut it so it's symmetrical. Okay. So what we're going to do is I am just freehand drawing just like that. Okay. If by some chance you don't like your curve, you just take your little iron, boop, it's erased. It's pretty cool. Okay. So basically, I'm just drawing it where I want it to be. And the purpose in cutting the paper, the size of your border is you're kind of auditioning. You can draw directly on your border if you want to. And again, this heat sensitive pen is just going to erase right off with your iron if you don't, if you don't care how you go. But the nice thing about the paper is it provides a template. Okay, so once we've got our curve where we want it, we're going to just pull that off. I'm going to fold on that center line that we marked and finger press it. Make sure everything's kind of good and lined up. What you'll want to make sure of when you cut your paper to start with, you want to make sure there's a straight edge that lines up with one of your borders. Okay, so then I've got my paper scissors. Sewers and quilters know that you have scissors for paper and you have scissors for your fabric. Don't use your fabric ones, but you can also just use a rotary cutter, which I do a lot of times too. Okay, but if you're using your handy dandy scissors, just make sure everything's lined up, and then you're just going to cut on that line that you marked. If you're using a rotary cutter, it's almost even easier. I just make sure everything's where it needs to be. Normally I'll put a ruler just to hold everything in place, and I'll take my rotary cutter and I just kind of just cut it where I think it should be. And then when you open it up, you have a good symmetrical curve. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your pattern, take your piece, and I'm going to line it up. I've got the straight edge on this side, so I'm going to line the straight edge up with that border, that first border, and I'm going to make sure my line is right in the center. And remember, I folded, so if I iron and the line goes away, I've still got a little bit of perforation there, just a little bit of fold there to show me where I am. Okay, I'm just going to lightly just kind of press that on. I'm not going to press over my line. Well, if I don't have to, but there's still kind of a little fold there in your paper, so I can see where I'm going. Okay, so that's where I am. Then I'm going to either take my fabric scissors or I'm going to take my rotary cutter, and I'm going to follow that line and just cut that out. So you can see that I have my first curve, and I can just pull that paper off, and that's my first curve. Okay, so to do the other ones, the reason we made the template is because we have 4 sides. So you're just going to turn it around, you're going to do the exact same process, and remember you have that fold there in the center to show you where the middle is. So I line that up with my little peak that's right here. Iron that bad boy on and make sure that top is lined up with that first border. Move it up just a smidge. And then I'm going to cut it again. I'm going to kind of take it and cut it. And if things don't work out just right and you need to refine it, you can always go back and cut again. Now I have had it happen to where things don't match up just perfect. And I've had to go back and just make sure my borders are all consistent in size if I'm wanting the shapes to be the same. So you just keep going and do it all the way around to get those curvy borders and get them consistently. Just kind of repeat on all 4 sides and it's done. One note that you'll want to think about is when you do binding on this. Binding, since we have a curvy border, binding is going to have to be cut on the bias just so it grabs hold of those sides. If you're doing a straight border, you can do just straight binding, but with the curvy border, you'll want to do the curvy binding, and we have included in your packet, we have actually included a chunk of fabric for you to cut your binding either way in your kit. So I hope this helped and hope you've enjoyed this tutorial on the curvy border. Be sure to like us on YouTube. Thanks so much.